So we have a lot to talk about. First, I've managed to piss off Meri Brown, and I need to review episode 2 of this season. So first of all, if you're new here, my name is David Colarossi. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I use events in pop culture to discuss concepts in psychology. Tonight, that event is Sister Wives episode 2. So let me start with Meri, because I've gone sideways with her, and then I'll do the review of episode 2. So I got pinged by, it seems like, everybody, because Meri went onto Instagram or TikTok and said, there's a psychologist on YouTube, and he says that I am not able to support somebody or have somebody's back and disagree with them. And Meri came out and said, that's a ridiculous position for the psychologist to have. I disagree. You can both support somebody and disagree with them. And then initially there was a ton of comments saying, this psychologist must be a real a-hole, or how could he possibly think that? Of course you can, right? Or everybody's like, well, who is this a-hole? So anyway, that is not what I said. So what she was reacting to is Allison and I, my wife and I, reacted to the first episode. And in that episode, Meri tells, Robyn is saying, look, we need to stand together as a family. We need to support Cody. And Meri is saying, Robyn, I have your back. And then it's smash cut to Robyn talking to TLC when she's being interviewed, and she's like, look, I don't always agree with what Robyn does, how she treats people, how she thinks, or what she says, or whatever. There's like this long list of things, but I have her back. And Allison and I were joking that it's absurd how many things, or how supportive Meri is, despite the fact that Robyn does all these things that Meri disagrees with. Allison and I are fans of Meri, and the critique was really of Robyn being so difficult to be with as a sister wife. Robyn takes up a lot of space. She demands a lot. She has very low awareness of how she's impacting people, or the alternative is she does know how she's impacting people and is ruthless and manipulative. But the bottom line, she is very tough, and Meri has, over the course of the last 12 years, been exceptionally loyal to Robyn. And so we were joking about how awful Robyn is, and Meri, I think, misinterpreted it and was offended by it, and then went on to Instagram or TikTok or whatever and complained. So on my end, I'm sorry that our comments were interpreted that way. And Meri, if you're listening to this, that is not my intention at all. Allison and I love you and are pulling for you. Every season that we've reviewed, we're always like, we hope that Meri gets the hell out of that relationship. So it's just us wanting the best for Meri. So anyway, I put out a reaction video, but it's hard for me to figure out how to get the TikTok or the Instagram algorithm to position it in front of Meri. I reached out to Meri. She didn't respond back. I said I would love to interview her and meet with her, but I've heard nothing. But that's where that stands. All right, let's talk about episode 2. A lot happened in this episode, and I'm struggling to figure out like a coherent way of summarizing it all. So I'm just kind of going to jump around a little bit. The first thing that I thought was significant was Christine and Cody having lunch. It seemed like the world's most uncomfortable lunch, as Cody's shoveling in food and Christine sitting there talking and sort of, she is in such a good place psychologically, it seems. She's so happy with herself for being the hell out of that relationship that she's like sitting back super relaxed and being like, Cody, you got to figure it out, man. And Cody's like sitting there just, being angry while he eats and saying, we need to go to couples counseling. And I feel like I need to weigh in on whether or not this is a reasonable ask. So I think in some cases, doing divorce counseling makes sense. If you have kids and you're trying to figure out how do you work together to make the experience for the child, a positive one or as good as it can be, I think it makes a lot of sense. But to do that, both people in the relationship have to be viewing the relationship in the same way. Let me say it this way. When a therapist does traditional marriage counseling, one of the first things a therapist will ask to the couple is, do you both want to stay in this relationship? When I used to do it, I used to kick one person out, and I would say, let's just say to person A, I would say, do you want to stay in this relationship? Are you committed to this relationship? They would say yes. Then I'd bring the next person in, and I'd ask the same question, and they would say yes. If either one of them said no, I would say, it's not going to work, right? You can't have people come into couples counseling and have very different views of what they want from the relationship. In the case of Kody and Christine, Kody is freaking angry. He's aggressive. He's outraged. He wants Christine to suffer. He's not in the same place where Christine is. He's not ready to talk about how do we navigate the family or the kids effectively. Kody is in pain. So what I would say is it's not a good time for them both to be in counseling together. I think it would be very reasonable for Kody to go to a therapist and work through his stress. He said in the video, maybe I need grief counseling. I think, yeah, that's what he needs. He needs some kind of bereavement work. He needs to process his emotions and get settled. And then maybe in a year, if he wants to talk about couples counseling, then it would make more sense. That said, one of the things that Kody complained about, I thought was reasonable. So last season 17, Kody talked a lot about how Janelle and Christine, he believes, speak negatively about him to their children. And this episode, he brought it up, and Christine said, look, I am a sounding board for my kids. I listen to them. I want them to be able to process their emotions with me, but I never speak negatively about Kody. And then it was, I would say half hour later in the episode, and she's talking to Peyton, and my sense from that conversation, which was filmed, so like she's aware that there's a camera there, Peyton's aware there's a camera there, it seemed like a very transparent conversation about Christine's frustration with Kody and her eventual reason for leaving the family. And so, I don't mean to be hard on Christine, but if we're going to just sort of audit, if we're trying to evaluate whether or not Kody's frustration is reasonable, I think he is probably right that Christine does share pretty openly with her adult children, at least, about her frustrations with their father. I think that that's probably true. I don't think that she's totally, an empty vessel that's just poured into. That'll be my guess. Now, side note, I think 95% of parents in her shoes would do the exact same thing. So I don't think it's that outrageous. What I do think is outrageous is this whole Thanksgiving debacle. So the issue is, Christine's gone. Janelle wants to spend the holiday with her adult children who don't want to come home. They want to spend the holiday at their house. And Janelle wants to go and see their house and spend the holiday with them, and they're allowing Christine to come. So Kody's looking at it and going, wait a second, Janelle, you're choosing Christine and kids over me, Robyn, and Meri. I understand why Janelle is doing that, but I also I understand why Kody would be frustrated with that. What I don't understand, that's not true. I think I understand it, but I don't think it's right. So objectively, if you looked at the family dynamics and how this family is supposed to work in this big picture that Kody loves so much, those kids, Janelle's kids, are also Robyn's kids. They're also Kody's kids. I don't understand why they wouldn't go and attend Thanksgiving at their kids' house. Why didn't they ask to be invited? Why didn't they make the trip? It's like there's this theme with Kody where he pulls a hard line around respect and devotion. He wants everybody being committed to him and coming to him, and he is totally unwilling to bend. If the family was that important to him, if he really wanted to fix the relationship with Janelle's kids, Kody would move his ass out there and go have a conversation. And it's interesting because I had no idea. I thought all the friction was about COVID, but I learned in this episode it sort of stems from this text thread that they had, which was, I would love to read the text thread. I don't know what was said, but the bottom line was the kids were talking. Robyn's kids felt isolated. Robyn jumped in. She inserted herself. I think she flustered or pissed people off, I would guess. And I think people said some things to her that they had chambered. They were frustrated for a long time, and they pounced on Robyn. Now, the reaction from that is for Robyn to be hurt and to withdraw and to hope that things somehow resolve themselves, also known as we ask Kody to go save the day. If Robyn were an adult, Robyn would go reach out to the adult children that had a problem with her and work through the situation. She would handle the issue head on versus acting like it didn't happen or acting like she needs to be saved by somebody else. And in the same way, Kody needs to stop being pissed about how Robyn was treated and go talk to the kids about why they treated Robyn that way. I don't know what happened as far as that text thread, and I'm not trying to explain away the behavior. Maybe the kids were totally, absurdly rude to her, and maybe it was inappropriate, and maybe it makes sense for them to be consequenced or by Cody. That's possible, but have the conversation, share your perspective, and deal with it and move on. It is not healthy to spend years in turmoil with both sides just stonewalling each other. That's never going to work. Now, the last piece I think is worth reacting to is this ear piercing situation with Aurora. I am not in their faith, and so I am aware that I have maybe biases or a view of the world that differs dramatically from theirs. But my honest sort of reaction to that section was that it seemed a little bit creepy. Like, it seemed like you have this dad who is, she's 18. The fact that she needs, the dynamic was like a father taking his 6-year-old daughter to get his ears pierced. There's just such a, it's like he's infantilizing her. Or is there a word for toddlerizing her? Like it's like she was so excited to do this big thing, and she needed her daddy there, and Robyn couldn't come, and thank God Cody's there while she goes through this milestone, which is typical for kids at the age of 4 or whatever. And I'm not judging the idea that she can't get her ears pierced or that Cody didn't like ears pierced or whatever. It's just the way he was caring for her creeped me out a little bit. But that's not based in any kind of psychological evaluation. It's just sort of my reaction. It's just a weird dynamic to see a dad with his 18-year-old daughter like that. I do think the whole ear piercing thing, it comes across like he was exceptionally controlling of the other wives. It's no shocker to anybody that Robyn changed the game when it came to the ear piercing. I don't know. I have no other reaction other than like it just was a little bit weird. So that's what I thought. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I forgot to say earlier in this video, hit the subscribe, or not subscribe. Well, you can subscribe if you want. Hit the like button. Hit it a lot. More likes, the better. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for listening.